Have you ever stopped to consider that the biggest risk you face today might be the very thing you trust the most? For decades, we were told that the US dollar was as solid as a rock. We worked hard, saved our money, and put our faith in the banking system because that was the responsible thing to do. But rocks can erode, and even the strongest foundations can show cracks when the ground beneath them begins to shift. Today, we are standing on a shifting landscape where the old rules of financial security are being rewritten in real time. If you feel a growing sense of unease when you see the headlines about national debt or global instability, you are not alone. That gut feeling is telling you something important. It is telling you that relying on a single currency and a single banking system is no longer the safe bet it used to be. In this discussion, I want to share a perspective that can change how you view your entire financial future. It is called the sovereign individual mindset. It is not about a quick fix or a risky investment. It is about a fundamental shift in how you protect what you have built over a lifetime. We are going to explore why decoupling your wealth from any single economy is the most responsible action you can take in 2025. By the time we finish, you will understand how to build a financial life raft that keeps you and your family safe, regardless of what happens in Washington or on Wall Street. The trap of the single economy. Most of us grew up in a world where centralization was the ultimate sign of stability. We were taught that big banks and big government were the guardians of our prosperity. But the reality of 2024 and 2025 has exposed a significant vulnerability in that way of thinking. When your entire life's work is stored within one banking grid and denominated in one currency, you are effectively a passenger on a ship you do not control. If that ship hits an iceberg, whether it is through hyperinflation, a systemic banking failure, or a political crisis, you go down with the ship. This is what I call the single economy trap. Think about the national debt, which has now reached levels that were once considered impossible. When a government carries that much debt, their only options are to raise taxes, cut benefits, or print more money. Printing more money devalues every single dollar you have saved in your retirement account. It is a silent tax that steals your purchasing power while you sleep. Furthermore, our modern banking system operates on permission. Every time you use your card or try to move your money, you are asking for permission from a centralized institution. If that institution faces a liquidity crisis or a technical failure, your access to your own labor can be cut off in an instant. We saw hints of this during recent bank stresses and government shutdown scares. For a person in their 60s or 70s, this is not just a theoretical risk. It is a direct threat to the peace of mind you have earned through decades of hard work. The single economy trap is the belief that because the system has always worked, it will always work. But a sovereign individual understands that true security comes from being independent of any single point of failure. The sovereign individual mindset. To become a sovereign individual, you must first change how you define ownership. Most people believe they own the money in their bank account. In reality, what you have is a legal claim against the bank, which they may or may not be able to fulfill during a crisis. True sovereignty means moving from permission-based wealth to self-owned wealth. It is the shift from being a subject of a single economic system to being the architect of your own personal economy. This mindset does not require you to move to a private island or leave your home. It is a mental and strategic decoupling. It starts by recognizing that your wealth should be as mobile and as diverse as the world itself. A sovereign individual views the US dollar as a tool, not a religion. It is one tool in a toolbox that should also include other forms of value that do not depend on a central bank's printing press. This mindset is about resilience and redundancy. If one door closes, you have three others that are wide open. It is about ensuring that your ability to provide for your family is never tied to the whims of a politician or the stability of a single computer network. When you adopt this mindset, you stop reacting to the news with fear. Instead, you look at the news through the lens of a strategist. You begin to see that the cracks in the old system are actually signals to move towards something better. Decoupling is not an act of rebellion. It is an act of deep love for your family's legacy. It is making sure that the fruit of your life's work is protected by the strongest walls possible. Practical paths to decoupling. So how do we move from theory to reality? How does a person who has spent 50 years in the traditional system begin to decouple? The first path is through the accumulation of hard assets that exist outside the digital banking grid. Vang Vatchat, for example, has been a store of value for thousands of years for a very simple reason. It cannot be printed, it cannot be deleted, and it does not require a password to exist. Having a portion of your wealth in physical form gives you a baseline of security that no bank failure can touch. The second path is geographic diversification. In the past, only the ultra-wealthy could have bank accounts in multiple countries. Today, technology has made it possible for many people to hold assets in different jurisdictions. By having a presence in more than one economy, you ensure that a local crisis in one country does not wipe you out. This could be as simple as holding a different currency or owning property in a stable secondary location. The third path is the move toward non-custodial digital assets. We are entering an era where you can hold significant wealth on a device no larger than a thumb drive. This wealth is yours alone, and no bank can freeze it or prevent you from sending it to a loved one. For the older generation, this may seem intimidating, but the tools are becoming simpler every day. The goal is to have a plan B that is ready to be activated at a moment's notice. This might mean having a supply of cash outside the bank, a set of hard assets, and a diversified portfolio that spans different continents. When you take these steps, you are no longer just a resident of a single economy. You are a global citizen with a fortified personal fortress. The power of the Plan B. Imagine for a moment that you wake up tomorrow and the news reports a 48-hour banking holiday. All digital transactions are paused and ATMs are offline. For most people, this would be a moment of absolute panic and desperation. But for the sovereign individual, it would simply be an inconvenience. You would have your physical assets, your alternative currencies, and your diversified resources ready to go. This is the power of the Plan B. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are prepared. It is the ability to look your spouse or your children in the eye and tell them that everything is going to be okay, because you took the time to build a backup system. We are living through a period of history that historians will look back on as a great transition. The era of total reliance on centralized systems is ending. The era of the sovereign individual is just beginning. This transition can be a time of great loss for those who refuse to see the signs, but it can be a time of incredible empowerment for those who choose to take control. I encourage you to look at your current financial setup and ask yourself the hard questions. Are you too dependent on one system? Is your legacy safe if the dollar loses its status as the world's only reserve currency? The answers to these questions will determine your level of freedom in the years to come. Building your sovereign future. Building sovereignty is a journey, not a destination. It starts with a single step, a single change in how you allocate your resources. It might start with buying your first ounce of gold, or opening an account that gives you exposure to a different market. The important thing is to start now, while the sun is still shining and the system is still functioning. Do not wait for the storm to start before you begin building your life raft. As you move forward, you will find that the stress and anxiety of the daily news cycle begins to fade away. You will feel a sense of independence that you may have never felt before. You are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are a master of your own fate. In our next discussion, we will dive deeper into the specific hard assets that are best suited for the year 2025. We will look at how to store them safely and how to ensure they can be passed down to the next generation without interference. True wealth is about more than just numbers on a screen. It is about the freedom to live your life on your own terms. It is about the sovereignty that belongs to every individual who has the courage to claim it. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you found value in this perspective, I invite you to share your thoughts. If the banking system paused for 48 hours, what is your plan for your family's immediate needs? Let's discuss your Plan B in the comments below. Stay strong, stay vigilant, and most importantly, stay sovereign. I will see you in the next video as we continue this journey together.